Perfect.
That's totally fine. Oh, real quick before we dig into this, if you see Dan or I raising, if you see Dan or I raising a pen, it's just us communicating that we have another question to follow up. You don't have to worry about that or stop. Just keep going on what you're on, and we'll fight over the scraps of meat.
But if it's a green highlighter, David, it means fuck you. Just as a heads up.
All right. Now I got to find a good object to return the message.
You can just use your middle finger. That's fine.
Cool.
All
right, well, let's
kick
do
this thing off. Yeah. David Bailey, welcome in. We appreciate the shit out of your time. Know that you are a busy as hell dude, especially this time of year. And as you just referenced here before clicking record, you've been a rather reclusive character on the Bitcoin podcast circuit the last year. As Josh and I put it, you've sort of regained your Bitcoin podcast virginity. And we thought we were going to take that from you, pop your cherry, but you had a wonderful convo with Odell. Looks like you're going on with Preston, but you're putting yourself back out there, Dave?
Yeah, well, first off, guys, thanks for having me on the show. I don't typically do podcasts because, now we have an organization and a team, and I want them to go out there and, they have better takes than I have, and they're like in the trenches on the front line, so people want to hear from them. But every once in a while, I got to come out so people don't think I'm dead or in jail. So I appreciate y'all giving me a platform, and I've heard great things about your show, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We thought we were asking, a girl out that was like a soft 6 here, but it turned out you were so reclusive that you were more like a hard 8. And for a second, I thought maybe we were going to get the stiff arm.
No. And, it is 100% fact. I have been sick for the past month and a half, so I apologize for...
All good. We're just busting your balls.
You know what piece of evidence? As soon as we knew that you gave Preston the stiff arm too. So if you give Preston the stiff arm, we know that there's an illness in the building. But hey, exercise, David.
Women don't turn Preston down, man.
The playing hard to get game is just absolutely brilliant. It makes people want you so much more. We've done the same thing. Not that we get many requests, but people will ask us to come on. Even if we want to, we'll fawn as though we're a little too busy, and then all of a sudden they're fixated on getting us on. So it worked. Yes, I would say those are good numbers, Josh. 6 to an 8. Maybe even push. Sure. When you were 4 minutes late, you were pushing a 9.
We were,
dude.
We were blue balling it here, man. We were blue balling it.
Good lesson to be learned for business in this. So appreciate the.
Yeah,
thought.
For sure.
All right.
That's the way to negotiate.
What are we getting into? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to hear about Puerto Rico here first. You moved. You're in Puerto Rico. I want to hear about that transition, how that's going, what you're up to.
Yeah, I mean, I have like a sane answer I give to people, and I have an insane answer I give to people, and I feel like on y'all's podcast we'll just jump straight into the insane answer.
Perfect.
The real reason I moved here is because I'm bearish on what's happening in the United States, in the political system, the cultural system, and I was living in Nashville. It's still one of the best cities in the mainland. But even in Nashville, you see the change that's happening. And, I'm one of those people that, I've been in Bitcoin 12 years now. Shit, what year is it? 11 years. So it's like I have, basically, my mind is, at the point where I tell people how I think, and, I'm not going to fucking back down. And, freedom of speech, capitalism, the individual, I just be straight up about it. And, I felt like I was building my life on quicksand in the sense that, I don't want to be there. And in a couple of years' time, my daughter is getting punished in school because her father is a free speech extremist, or I've done some political stuff, trying to support some Bitcoin causes, and I don't want to be in the mainland and wake up in the middle of the night and some, bullshit bill has been passed, banning Bitcoin, and I need to pack my family up in the middle of the night and bounce. And
Right.
so I was like, before anybody's gonna kick me out of fucking mainland USA, I'm gonna kick myself out, and I'm gonna find somewhere else to go. I'm gonna make my life a little bit more anti-fragile. And Puerto Rico was kind of like the right balance because, it's like moving outside of the United States, but though I don't have to like renounce my citizenship or anything, it's culturally, even though it's a liberal place, like politically, it's culturally very conservative. And there's such a concentration of people from Bitcoin and crypto more broadly that have moved here. We make up about half of 1% of the population. I buy into a vision that if we can get to 3% of the population or 5% of the population, like we can make our own country here. I mean, honestly, and I mean, wouldn't that be dope to have a place where Bitcoiners around the world could go to that enshrine the original ideas of America into a place with ideologically aligned people with means and resources. Fuck it, and then also side benefit, there's no taxes. So it's like, okay, well, I moved to a tropical island. We try to start our own sovereign nation. I save a bunch of money on taxes, and if it doesn't work out, I just move back to Nashville. So there you go.
I mean, sounds like a solid plan from my perspective. Dan and I are like 3 steps removed from anything like that. Where, I mean, Nashville looks like nirvana to me compared to like the Chicago area we're in. And then from there, you're saying it's even better in Puerto Rico. Like, I can't even comprehend that from the perspective. I mean, we're right in the depth of it right here. I mean, this is like California, Chicago, New York is the epicenter of a lot of this nonsense.
Why don't you leave?
We're gonna lose some fans here, but we're the epitome of golden handcuffs, like career fire. So we're firefighter paramedics. There's gonna be some firemen in some areas that disagree with this because we don't know the landscape completely. But like suburban New York, suburban Chicago, and like California are where you make a good living as a fireman. And so we have some of the best firefighting jobs in the world in terms of pay and schedule and contract. So it's very hard to leave. Like it would be a career transition probably to go somewhere else, which isn't, I mean, it's not completely out of the books, but we love what we do and we don't want to stop doing it. But it is.
Give us a good offer, man. Give us a good offer.
Yeah, I mean,
let us scam you into some fire protection down in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, we can find some good. We can do escape routes for your building. We can. I mean, just pay us $150
we'll make up some
a year.
Bullshit.
We're good.
We'll deceive some people. We'll put the hero hat on and convince you guys to give us all
wear
sorts
fire
of
helmets
money.
around. I want to ask a
people love firefighters, man. That's if you're gonna start a revolution, you gotta get some firefighters on your side.
I'm not kidding. It's piquing my interest. Like hearing you talk with Odell, especially as I accumulate more Bitcoin. Just to be honest, as Bitcoin becomes more ideologically important in both of our lives, as I accumulate more, as I buy more year over year, more and more into the vision, this type of stuff would have been completely off the table pre-Bitcoin 2016 or whatever. And now I'm like, holy shit. I mean, even just from the tax advantage standpoint, the jurisdictional arbitrage plays, like you can start seeing sovereign individual thesis play out and the incentives working within you to say that's not off the table at all.
Yeah. And
hey, I have a quick question about.
Sorry, go on.
No, so before we get off Puerto Rico, I just want to make sure I ask because this is kind of a very fine-pointed question that may not be relevant to most people, but I'm curious because of I was looking at the tax benefits of Puerto Rico last night. It said, let's say you have an LLC or something there, the money it's only the money that's made in Puerto Rico that is sheltered from that. Is that correct?
It's money. It's called export services. So it's money that you make while you're in Puerto Rico, working from Puerto Rico, providing services outside of Puerto Rico. And like, if you talk to a CPA and have them describe like what that activity is, it's everything. So I mean, like a podcast, for example, you live in Puerto Rico, you film the podcast in Puerto Rico. Okay, you're working from Puerto Rico. Your sponsors, they're international or whatever in the U.S. And they pay you. Okay, you exported marketing services to that company. You pay a 4% corporate income tax, and then there's something called Act 60, where you get an individual Act 60 decree, and you can dividend the profits from your corporation or LLC to yourself at 0% tax rate. So it's effectively a 4% individual income tax as well. and you don't have to report shit to the IRS. You don't have to tell them anything. You could be
Man,
dead for all they know. And so
this is so appetizing.
yeah, and like there's just something also like you can feel. It's a bear market this year, but like you can feel the entrepreneurial energy coming here because it's like, uh, uh, you know, there is such an insane concentration of people from our industry that are moving here, and there's this sense of like we're building something, and
Yeah,
like at Bitcoin prices of $1 million, which like
we'll be there.
my brain is so mush at this point, like I just feel like Bitcoin 1 million is just like a done deal. We're just waiting for
burger.
everyone to realize it. Yeah. So when that happens, like the amount of billionaires per capita in Puerto Rico will be higher than any other place in the world, higher than Monaco, higher than Singapore. And so it's like, we will have the means to do shit here. And so yeah, I mean that's exciting. And I have an ethical issue paying taxes. I mean, it's just like, okay, great. I'm like giving money to a mob boss who's using it to buy missiles to kill poor people in, some overseas nation that I've never met, probably some chill person, just trying to take care of their family. And, like, I just want nothing to do with that. Like, so, being here, it's like, hey, US does all sorts of messed up stuff, but not with my money, they don't.
The Bitcoin conference is coming this May in Miami, and you do not want to miss out. Dan and I will be there. This 3-day event is the ultimate destination for anyone looking to stay ahead of the curve and work in the industry. Industry Day tickets are available for those who want to network with like-minded professionals and learn from the top experts in the field. For those who want the ultimate VIP experience, the Whale Pass is the way to go. With exclusive access to private events and top-level speakers, you'll get the inside scoop on the latest trends and insights in the industry. So why wait? Get your tickets now and join us at the Bitcoin conference in Miami, where the future of finance is being shaped today. Use code BCB23 to get 10% off tickets, and we will see you in Miami. Yeah, it sounds like almost like you guys have a Gulch situation going on there, or at least the first formations of it,
Yeah.
I'm liking what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And yeah, Bitcoin $1 million, I'll see you there.
So when you're ready to visit, you just hit me up, and we got a guest house. Y'all come down with your family and check it out. It's cool.
At Bitcoin 1 million, there'll be a sudden wave of retirements at our agency too, David. We've got some sat stacking Bitcoin hungry firemen.
Well done.
Headed to Puerto Rico. It sounds like. Has it made running the company harder? Like, what logistically? How's your life? You're married with a kid. Am I right on that? You're running a company. How's that all been down there?
So I have 2 kids, and I got a third on the way. 3 little girls.
Oh, congratulations!
So house of women. And I had a few people from the company move down here with me. So like our intention was to open up a Puerto Rican office last year here. I've just been working from my house because we just haven't gotten it set up yet. But I would say it introduces some challenges, but like at the end of the day, like I'm a young entrepreneur, and I am not good at management. Like I micromanage things. Like I'm the classic like startup founder. Like I have a skill set that maybe is well suited for starting something, but like I have a hard time scaling something up and creating process and accountability and systems, yada yada. And so it honestly was healthy for me to get distance from our HQ, where like I'm not able to do that same degree of micromanagement. Like I have to have our leadership team own and drive things forward. And like that's how you scale a business. Like you have to get to that point. And so it's been a good forcing function from that and giving me the perspective of like, okay, well, what are the things that actually matter for me to be doing rather than just what I feel like matters in the moment.
Right. Yep. One other thing before we get off Puerto Rico. I know Peter Schiff lives in Puerto Rico. You ever run into him or see him around or hang out with him?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. He's
what has your interaction with him been like? I'm sure you've tried to. Does he actually get it and understand it, or is he just doing this for Twitter likes? What's the deal with him?
I feel like at this point he is just like this is his shtick, and so now he's just like exactly like locked in on it. I'm a Peter Schiff fanboy. Like before,
So am I. I've been reading him for like 12 years.
Hey, preaching to the choir here.
One of his YouTube videos from the '08 financial crisis was like that, and Ron Paul was like kind of like the beginning of me even realizing there was such a thing as Austrian economics and free market economics, like true free market. And so, yeah, no, it's crazy when I run into him, and like I do feel like I'm a fanboy at times. But yeah, he's 100% consistent in trashing me about Bitcoin every time I see him. I mean, like last time I saw him, he asked me what our plan is to rename the magazine when Bitcoin goes to zero. So yeah, he's pretty good troll. Yeah, and his son is like a hardcore Bitcoiner, which is also also funny. But
Spencer, right?
Yeah. So Peter just like shows up at the same parties, has stuff at his house. I was we were at Halloween party with him the other, well, I guess this was Halloween, and he was wearing Jew Lives Matter T-shirt for his Halloween.
Wow. I thought maybe he'd do a Goldfinger or what was the evil guy from the last Gold Member? That's it. Him wearing a Gold Member outfit or costume would be hilarious.
The thing about Schiff, though, you bring up a good point. Like, he was cool before most Bitcoiners were born. Like, a lot of people that talk shit about him that haven't actually read anything he's done or trended any of his stuff. It's like, motherfucker, you weren't even out of your mother's womb yet with Bitcoin when this guy was spitting some truth. Yeah, he's playing a little bit of a clownish part, but he's got a lot of substantive stuff to say about broader issues outside of Bitcoin, for sure.
Dude, it's it's the ideas that underpin Bitcoin that make Bitcoin valuable, that make Bitcoin what it is. We got way too many Bitcoiners that are all sensitive to anyone who they feel like isn't like rowing to make the price go up, when what really matters is people who are evangelizing the underlying ideas and exposing people to the underlying ideas, and that's actually what makes Bitcoin go up. And so I'm a big fan of Peter, and I think that probably secretly he has a massive Bitcoin stash, and he's just afraid to let his boomer followers know that he dumped his gold and bought Bitcoin.
It's interesting to hear you say Peter Schiff and Ron Paul. So that era, I'm assuming, is like 2008 to 2010. Is that when you kind of discovered this Austrian economics rabbit hole?
Yeah, like my well, this is a kind of a long story, but my journey into Bitcoin, when I was in high school, I was like a big nerd. So in high school, I got into investing and did a lot of investing. And turned $6,000 into almost $250,000 in high school. But honestly, just like the luck of being a kid, buying things you knew about Apple stock and Google stock and all the things that did well. And like it was only making money. This was, I guess, 2005 to 2009 was when I was in high school. So then when the financial crisis started, and bank stocks were down like 20%, I'm watching CNBC. I'm like, I'm so educated on what's going on. And the bank CEOs are like, our banks are sound. This is a nothing burger. Just buy our stock. I'm like, I'm going to buy. And I got absolutely wrecked. I lost like the worst holding I had was Regions Financial, which I was down like 90% on from when I started buying it to where it bottomed out. And you can imagine, like, okay, you're a junior in high school, you've made $250,000, which to a high schooler is like a lot of money, and then you listen to like the anointed, respected experts, and they absolutely wreck you, and you lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like that's a pretty traumatizing like experience. And so made me like go like kind of like boys to men moment of like, wow, like I was lied to, and I was exit liquidity, and I just got wrecked. And that like that led me on a journey to figure out like how that happened. And I saw this Peter Schiff video where he just like perfectly articulated what was going to happen before anyone else. And like once the financial crisis happened, like every talking head was like, no one could have seen this coming. Like no one could have predicted what was going to happen. And I'm like, okay, there's a video of a guy like saying exactly what's going to happen before it happened. What do you mean no one saw it coming? Like, what did this guy know that no one else knew, or no one else, they did know, but they just, didn't want to say. And so that like led me down a rabbit hole, and then I found Ron Paul, and then Ron Paul is like such a just articulate spokesperson for free market ideas, and so that opened my eyes to this entire world of Austrian economics, and so that was kind of like my awakening, and I got real involved in Ron Paul's presidential campaign, his second one. And I feel like a lot of the best Bitcoiners out there are Ron Paul Bitcoiners. But I got very involved, and then they robbed Ron Paul of the Republican nomination. And then I was like, another Boys to Men moment. Our political system is cooked, and there's nothing you can do to change it from within. And so like that kind of gave me the right, let's just say like mentality to discover Bitcoin. And then I had a few other things going on in my life, like I had some exposure to like overseas like financial systems like microfinance, etc. And a big Austrian think tank, the Mises Institute, is actually located in Auburn, Alabama, and I went to school at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa. So I got some exposure to that. So I had some like cool things that happened. And then when I came across Bitcoin, it was like right time, right place, right conditions in my mind, and I was able to hop on that train much earlier than I otherwise would have been able to. And not like to jump around here a little bit, but Ron Paul, I would say, is like probably, outside of like the savvy stuff, like my parents are my hero, but like Dr. Paul is probably my number one hero, like in terms of inspiration and influence over the course of my life. And one of the cool things about my job is I get to like meet people who are tangential to Bitcoin. And so in 2021, we had Dr. Paul speak at the Bitcoin conference, and I got to spend some time with him. And like, dude, this is like, he is the most humble guy, like the most humble guy. And like, you're like, Dr. Paul, like, you don't understand how many people are here because of what you started. Like, you don't understand how many people's lives you've changed, like how many millionaires you've made, like families you've created. Like, your impact is so big. And he's just like, oh, really? Wow. Like, just like totally oblivious to everything. And I'm like driving around, like people are like,
that comes across too.
Oh, dude, it's 100% authentic. 100% authentic.
When you hear him talk, like he's a politician, and I think we're all kind of cynical enough to not believe shit you hear from a traditional politician or just about any of them. But anytime I've heard him speak, it always does seem genuine. He always seems he's a soft-spoken, gentle guy. It's apparent when you listen to him, and it's a real shame. I was, I guess, naive in 2008 and 2012 and thought, oh, this guy could actually do it, but I know better now.
If the system worked like how it should work, he would have done it. And the funny story at the Bitcoin conference, he had like maybe like a 20-minute session or something to give like an opening remarks. And he's an elderly man now. I mean, he's not as sharp or as polished as he used to be. And so like, he just goes on his talk track, and like 20 minutes just doesn't mean anything. Like, there's no, like, when he's done, he's done. And so I think he went for like 45 minutes or an hour. I mean, we were way over time, like right off the bat. And they're like, should we pull him off the stage? I'm like, no one takes Dr. Paul off the stage. So we had to delay like the whole conference, etc., so that he could finish his speech. But I
mean, he wasn't shaking hands with bushes or anything, right? Like, he was
shaking hands.
He's nowhere.
He's not.
No,
at
I'm saying
Biden's level yet.
He's nowhere near Biden. Like,
tripping on stairs.
No. Just like, he's got his talk track, and he's gonna talk his talk track, and it's like he's given speeches, I don't know how many thousands of times, and it's just like he's not in a place now where he could just like customize, quick cut, snip, snap here. Like, whereas like I think Rand Paul, when you're just 40 or 50 years old, you're able to just like, customize. Oh, I got 5 minutes. Okay, this is my key message. Blah blah blah.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, Dr. Paul, man, hero. I think he's the godfather of Bitcoin. Yeah, dude, I owe a lot to Dr. Paul. So, and hey, something else that's crazy. When we announced Dr. Paul as the speaker, which I thought would be like our number one most celebrated like speaker get ever, we got so much hate.
What?
From who?
From like, I can't tell if it's just sock puppet accounts pretending to be Bitcoiners that like just automatically attack anything Ron Paul does, etc., or if it's just like this new wave of Bitcoiner where they actually just like FOMO follow the price and they see like Dr. Paul as fringe and that he distracts from the message or something, or distracts from the legitimacy of Bitcoin. I don't know what it was, but dude, so
That's
much
fucking
hate.
crazy.
So much hate. I couldn't believe it. It was kind of a shocking thing. But the OGs, like, they fucking know what's up. They loved it.
The hate has to just be the story of your life running this company. Like, I've heard you. The ironic thing about Bitcoin, and David, we talked a lot of shit about this on the show, is just like, and this is true of any growing community of human beings, is just you start seeing virtue signaling, cancel culture. It's like people are doing that in response to it. It's like the anti-wokeness is becoming woke. I don't know where, I feel like I've heard you allude to this before. You kind of agree, and how annoying is that being in your position, and how the fuck do you balance it? Because even we're feeling at our size, it's tricky.
Yeah, dude. It's so fucking annoying. And dude, I hate the virtue signaling stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's pervasive in our industry. Well, first off, like, just as an individual, whenever anyone tries to bully me or woke push me into something, like, I automatically take the opposite position and I double down. Like there's if you want to get me to do something, you like virtue signal that I must not do that thing online and try to get a mob to go after me, and guaranteed I'll do that thing. So that's one thing. Two, like, in terms of just philosophy wise, I have come to terms that the Bitcoin experience is a very individual experience, and that the Bitcoin experience is an individualistic journey, and that people are on a journey. And it took me, I'm still on the journey. You're always, I think you're always going to be on the journey.
100%.
But like my understanding that I have of Bitcoin today has changed so much over the past 11 years, learning new things as things happen, taking in new information and evolving my perspective, learning why certain things matter, identifying phenomenon or cause and effect that I never knew was there before, etc. And like, at the end of the day, like, you cannot draw your experience or decisions about what you want to do from someone else. You have to develop those ideas on your own. And you have to be truly confident and grounded in what those beliefs are that you develop. Like, you have to have conviction in your beliefs. And
absolutely,
then you don't try to fit into anybody's fucking crowd. You don't try to identify with this group or with that group. You do your own thing. And then you articulate again and again and again what your own thing is. And if people have a problem with it, so what? F them. If people want to align with you, fantastic. Great. Like, collaborate with people. But like, I refuse to call myself a Bitcoin maxi, because I don't want to have my views co-opted into like a group identity. Like, I call myself Bitcoin only, because I only work on Bitcoin. I'm only focused on Bitcoin. And I have a certain view of what it means to be Bitcoin only. And, my mission is hyper Bitcoinization. And I want to spread Bitcoin adoption to as many places as possible and in the fiat system. Like that's my driving goal. And so, that's the lens I look at stuff through. And I don't think that there is a right way or wrong way to use Bitcoin. I don't think that there are priests of Bitcoin. I don't think that there are gatekeepers of Bitcoin. I don't think anybody gets to tell you how to think about Bitcoin.
Amen.
Like Bitcoin's a permissionless open system. That's the whole fucking point. And I want people to experience it in their own individual way. And every shitcoiner that exists out there is ultimately going to become a Bitcoiner. Like there's a term somebody at my company taught me in like Christian churches. It's called seeker sensitive. And like seeker sensitive is like somebody I don't know much about churches and shit, but it's a good analogy. Someone who's seeker sensitive is like someone who shows up at your Sunday service or whatever. They're not a member of your church, but they showed up because they're seeking questions. They're seeking answers to questions in their life, and so they showed up because they're interested, but they don't know, all the beliefs. They don't have all the answers. They're there to learn. And typically, when they're seeking for answers, it's because they got complicated stuff going on in their life. Maybe behavior that church would say is not behavior you should be doing. And the answer is not to be like get in their face and be like, "You're going to fucking hell." You're like, "Get out of here, you sinner." It's like, no, dude. That's like, that's the seeker sensitive are the ones that are closest to being able to embrace the concept of Bitcoin, of the idea you're evangelizing. And so, I feel like we should be actively driving people that are like 90% of the way there, but are somewhere on their journey where like they haven't made it all the way to why Bitcoin only. And we should be trying to like drive them along that path as fast as possible, not pushing them away, not like creating camps, not like saying, well, I'm like a real Bitcoiner and like you can't be a real Bitcoiner because you aren't toxic enough. I don't know. It's just like that stuff's just silly to me. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a long-winded answer, but it's just like do your own thing and deal with whatever consequences come with it.
Dan and myself, Josh, talk a lot on this show about running a Bitcoin node. If you are a serious Bitcoiner and you want to verify, not trust, you will take this step at some point. For our node setups, we run software and hardware from Start9 Labs. This setup enables us to run a reliable and secure Bitcoin node, but then, if we so choose, experiment and graduate way beyond that towards many different areas of sovereign computing. You can download Embassy OS for free and install it on your own hardware, or you can buy one of Start9's plug-and-play devices. We highly recommend these devices. Start9 builds reliable and extremely easy-to-use products backed up with incredible customer support. Run a Bitcoin node, run a Lightning node, run a NOSTR relay. Take control of your photos, messages, passwords, pictures, and data, all on one device. Embassy OS operating system is the distribution platform open source software has been waiting for. Visit start9.com. We only recommend and endorse companies that we believe in, and Swan Bitcoin is a company we believe in. I have been personally using Swan to DCA into Bitcoin since May of 2020, when Bitcoin was the wee price of $9,500. Swan's interface and on-ramp is incredibly simple and user-friendly. With Swan, you can dollar cost average daily, weekly, or monthly, or conduct a smash instant buy whenever you want. Withdrawals to cold storage are completely free and can be totally automated, truly set and forget. Swan wants you to hold your Bitcoin keys, and support is one click or phone call away if you need help during this process. Buying Bitcoin is just the tip of the iceberg. Swan also has a Bitcoin IRA product, business and nonprofit offerings, resources for financial advisors, private services for high net worth clients, and phenomenal educational materials. Visit swan.com for more information. And at swan.com/fire, you can learn about and receive Swan Premium for 1 year.
Hallelujah,
I think that's,
brother.
what you just articulated is kind of what the conclusion Dan and I have come to as well. Like, 5 years ago, we would tell people to buy Bitcoin. At this point, we don't tell people to buy it because the conviction is the most important thing. If you're going to buy it at 30,000 and you watch it go to 15, you panic sell and lose your money or lose half your money. Like you're not going to look at Bitcoin as a positive thing for the world. You're just looking at it as like the thing that lost me money. And I'm pissed because I listened to some guy that may not know what he's talking about. So what we recommend people do and why we built a portion of our website devoted to helping people say 4 hours, 10 hours, or 100 hours, however much time they want to devote to understanding this, is actually understanding it, actually learn about it, grow some conviction that can allow you to withstand an 80% drawdown and not sell your Bitcoin and lose it, but actually double down and buy some more when it's on sale and, lower your cost basis. And then as far as like people at the conference that may be, perturbing to some constituents, Eric Voorhees is a guy that we've been trying for like, I don't know what, Dan, a year to get on our podcast. He just, he constantly, he probably hasn't noticed us asking, but
partly because people tell us we can't, right, David? People
not only
can't
that,
talk to Eric. We're like, I can talk
Eric's
to whoever
awesome.
the fuck I want to talk to in my slippers in my fucking basement. Yeah. Shut the fuck up.
Eric is an OG guy who's got these principles nailed down to a science and has some of the stuff I've heard him say and do is just stellar. I love the way he thinks. I love the way
he's a rock
I just love his mind, the way he thinks. I want to talk to the guy. Anyway, so I mean, we're not going to allow these clowns to tell us we can't have Eric Voorhees on our podcast because he's working on Shapeshift or whatever the fuck he's working on now. We want to talk to him.
100%.
Yeah, and David, first of all, I just resonate so hard with what you both just said, that you use the word journey, David. And I think what concerns me is people essentially arriving, whether they know it or not, at a destination in their thinking. They think they've got Bitcoin figured out, and we're as bullish as anyone around. And as the years have gone on, the two of us grow more and more squarely focused on Bitcoin. We have very significant concerns about the rest of the crypto space as a viable investment, especially for someone in the middle class. Having said that, we refuse to ever be at a destination in our thinking. And I think what worries me even on top of that, and what starts to really reek of like cultish behavior, is people literally inhibiting dialogue, telling other Bitcoiners, you can't talk to so-and-so. You podcast host can't have him or her on. You, David, you can't have so-and-so to the Bitcoin conference. It's like part of intellectual integrity, like one of the cornerstones, is maintaining a constant vigilance towards steel manning and finding the responsible people on the other side and keeping dialogue open. And so instead of straw manning, we're looking for the most responsible people on the other sides of the argument. And no matter what the valuation of Bitcoin, no matter how high the conviction on our end, we're deeply committed to constantly looking to the outside. And another thing we say on here is like, look at your podcast subscriptions. If you're subscribed to 13 Bitcoin podcasts and that's all you're listening to, you're fucking up. Like, expand your horizons, learn about different things, bring in different opinions, because it's in this cacophony that groupthink starts and people lose their mind.
Dude, if you can't handle people challenging your ideas, then you do not have conviction in your ideas. It's false conviction.
Sure.
It's actually a sign of people's what's the word like
insecurity.
Insecurity. Thank you. That they need to project conviction when they actually haven't lived the experiences or done the work or battled the ideas enough to actually have the conviction they claim to have. In terms of like, why I'm Bitcoin only, it's like I love Eric Voorhees. I think he's one of the best people in our industry, and I get shit every time I say that. And I don't care. Where I diverge from Eric is like, I think Bitcoin is the only viable option we have. And so it deserves our full focus and attention because we have to be successful. We have to have victory. So it's like all the other stuff, like crypto stuff, like there's lots of people that believe in the crypto stuff they're doing, and they have users that use it and they like it. Like, I don't have consensual people want to use something and it works for them, whatever. Like, where my issue stems from is just like it takes away focus and energy and effort that could be applied to pushing forward the in my opinion, the only thing that has a long-term viable chance of success. And I want the Eric Voorheeses of the world to spend 100% of their time focused on Bitcoin, and I think you get there through dialogue. You know, in terms of like the conference, like generally, you know, maybe this is like an idea that seems like foreign now, but when we started the Bitcoin conference, there was no Bitcoin conference. There was no like, hey, we're gonna do an event that's completely focused on this topic. There was like a couple of developer events, like 200 person. Hey, we're gonna talk about like the scaling challenges, and it's just developers, and it's highly technical. But no one had said, hey, we're gonna create an event that has a mission and an ethos, hyper Bitcoinization, and we are going to that's going to be the underlying premise of what we do. And we're going to be authentic to those values. And we're going to invite and bring all people from around the world that share those values with us to come together and try to push this thing forward. And so many people thought, there's no way that's going to work. Like, there's just no way that's going to work. Bitcoin's so tiny. There's so few people interested in Bitcoin. It's such a small subset of all the potential companies. And so we started in 2019. It was 2,000 people. Like the authenticity and the purpose for the event was like the rocket fuel that took this conference from 2,000 people to 26,000 people last year. And from a small event to the biggest finance event in the world in 3 years' time. And, you know, things that we made a decision to do at the beginning, like, our focus was like, how do we draw people into spending more time on Bitcoin? Like, we're not going to ask people who come to this event that you can't do anything else, you can't have any other interest, you can't be in other cryptos. Like, we don't care about that stuff. That stuff's irrelevant to us. What we care about is like, when you come to the event, your focus is on Bitcoin. You're here to talk about Bitcoin. You're here to learn about Bitcoin. You're here to contribute to Bitcoin. And like, that's our only ask. And our hope is that you come and you like what you see and you say, hey, maybe I should spend more time on Bitcoin. Like, and, you know, we might, like, the first two companies I went to try to get involved was Blockstream and Bitmain, which was like, they were like diametrically opposed with the block wars, et cetera. And I was like, guys, okay, block war's over. Like, we want both of you there. Yeah. Like, just like, okay, let's find the places we can agree rather than just focus on the places we disagree. And that was our ethos. And like who did we allow to speak about Bitcoin? Anyone who was making an active contribution to the space, who was actively doing something with Bitcoin. We had Voorhees speak at the conference, for example. You know, who did we allow to sponsor the conference? Any company that had a Bitcoin product or service that was there to only promote their Bitcoin product or service could participate in the event. They couldn't put shitcoins on their marketing material. They couldn't do that other stuff. But like, I mean, if they were there to talk about Bitcoin, it was in play. And so like, that was the standard that we developed. And we've applied that same standard year after year. And it's culminated in this event becoming quite large. Where there's challenges with that is that like, as the event gets bigger, first off, like ensuring that the policies that you put in place are taken seriously become more and more difficult to implement. Like, I mean, it's just like you got 600 speakers, you have 500 sponsors. We have 50 people at our company across all of our businesses. How what are you gonna do?
You need a shitcoin police force.
Yeah,
exactly. You need a full blown shitcoin police force. We'll be on it. We'll just fucking create badges and shit and run around with BB guns.
Toss people out of stage for no reason.
Yeah, and like, I mean, we have people like agree to a speaker policies. Like, we are as emphatic as we can be. But like, as the platform gets bigger and bigger, and people want to like get on stage, and people want to gotta have their company there, they will tell you whatever they need to tell you in order to get up there.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, they will just start like, I mean, Justin's son was trying to get on stage one year, and Justin's a nice guy. I'll share the story. He might not like it, but I'll share it. So he wanted to get on stage. We're like, Justin, this is not happening. He's like, you don't understand. I'm a Bitcoin maxi. I have 60,000 Bitcoins. All I care about is Bitcoin. I bought 3 Bitcoin companies. I'm implementing Lightning at my companies. Like I am a Bitcoin maxi, and like it's like Justin. I mean, yeah, I can go on your Twitter page right now and I can see what you're promoting, what you're doing. But I mean, people will just like try to sell you as hard as you can. So, like, okay, let's say for last year's conference, and last year's conference is significantly bigger than this year's conference. This year's conference is going to be half the size of last year's. Follows the price. But last year we had, let's say, 6,000 or 7,000 people that wrote in wanting to get a speaker spot. We had like 600 people who became speakers. If you're batting 99% success on filtering people out and making the right decisions, okay, what's 1% of 6,000 people? That's 60 speakers that like were able to bullshit their way in, say the right things, make the right promises, so like when you do something at scale, there's just no way to be perfect. And so like, right. and then people who want to like go at you, they want to zero in on the mistakes and try to, say those mistakes define the 100% of the product. And so like, that's bullshit. That sucks. Caveat. Sometimes you also make the wrong decision, period. Like we've made plenty of wrong decisions. I can go through a long litany of list of things. If I could undo the decision, absolutely I'd undo the decision.
I've got a quick hypothetical question for you here. Barry Silbert calls you.
Yeah.
He wants to be a speaker, keynote speaker at the conference. What's the game time decision there?
I'm a maxi, Dave. I'm a maxi. I have more Bitcoin than anyone in the world.
600,000 Bitcoins.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do it. It's a fireside, and I'm asking the questions.
Hell yeah, dude.
So let's game this out. I'm curious. Let's talk to
him. On Twitter, I asked Michael Shaughnessy. I invited him to come. We're having like a meetup of GBTC shareholders. And, I was like, in the spirit of Easter, man, like we'd like to invite you to come and address your customers. And take questions from us, and dude, the stage is yours if you'll do it.
Let's fucking make this happen, gentlemen. We're gonna stir the hornet's nest this afternoon, David. You just wait.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm all about it. Like I like having hard conversations in public arenas. Like that's the place to have them. I feel like so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would think you're gonna strike out trying to get them to sign up for that.
The other thing I was going to say that's a little complex being in your shoes is like, and I don't want to be mean here, I want to be gentle with what I'm about to say, but if you're the one, the people that have a propensity to ask to be speakers probably require more analysis. That like, if they're coming to you, they may not be the best fit. Like, I mean, we're already feeling that. We're getting people asking to come on here all the time. And like, generally speaking, and this isn't to dissuade anyone from reaching out, but like, if you're asking to come on, you're probably not coming on because like it's the people with the disposition we want on here probably aren't like seeking the spotlight all the time. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel any of that with some of the riffraff coming your way?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I'd say a good chunk of the speakers, like we're identifying proactively, like we're like, okay, what are the major topics that we want to drill into? What are the big themes of Bitcoin this year? Like who are the people that have like a story to tell or an announcement to make that could like set a narrative for the year, get people hyped. Like, so, we're being like proactive, but we also like, we're trying to like tread the balance of like, we want this to be a platform for the community, which means like we need to be accessible. People need to not be already famous or already plugged in order to be able to have a shot to be part of it. And so that's a constant kind of balance that we kind of have to thread. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like the people who are pitching themselves the hardest, typically are selling the most bullshit.
Yeah, it's like if you want to be president, you probably shouldn't be president because you're some kind of sociopath. Like no rational person wants to do that fucking job. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I want to change gears here a little bit and focus on Barry a little more. Let's talk about GBTC a bit. I own some of it. I'm kind of on the fence at this point. Like, should I offload this shit? I'm not asking you for financial advice here, but I'm asking myself this question. Should I just offload this shit, take my lumps, and move on to something better? Should I hold it in, hopes that it becomes an ETF, or I can somehow get my Bitcoin out of it in some far-flung future? Who knows if that'll ever happen? Is Barry going to be able to, stonewall this thing for years? I think you mentioned that with Odell. Even if the ETF does come aboard and if Fidelity gets it, I'm just wondering out loud, and maybe you can inform us a bit about how you think this thing will likely go, and what kind of muck has Barry gotten his hands into here? Like, what kind of shady bullshit has he done with FTT, with Sam Bankman fraud? Fill us in a little bit.
Spare us no detail, because the fuckery is deeper than I knew. It's crazy.
Turn over the stone and let's see the worms.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, first off, if we could take a time machine back a year ago and you asked me the question and I knew what I know now, then I would tell you absolutely to sell GBTC. But unfortunately, the bodies have turned up. The bad news has come. The situation is shit. And so I think it's a harder calculation to make now, given that so much of the bad information is now out there. Like in terms of like where to begin with this. Okay, so first off, to just put this into context, this is 630,000 Bitcoins. This is 3% of the world's supply of Bitcoin. This is bigger than Mt. Gox. This is the world's biggest holding of Bitcoin. And for as long as this entity exists into the future, this will be a constant source of drama and influence and pressure that can be put against the entire industry. You have, one entity that could market dump 630,000 Bitcoins and wreck the global Bitcoin economy for, some short amount of time. So, fundamentally, like, I think that's an issue. We got an issue there. And, if that was going to be able to exist, it needs to be run in the most high integrity, honest, transparent possible way it can be done. It needs to be run by people that are like truly working to do the best they possibly can for the industry and ecosystem as a whole. And instead, in this situation, we have the exact opposite of that. You have, Barry Silbert's web of victims that he's spun over the past year is millions of people. And it's not like degen gamblers on FTX that are like hitting perps on some shitcoin that they, like those people are like casino gamblers, and they go to the casino, they know what they're signing up for. Like the people who own GBTC, they bought in their 401k, they bought it in like their retirement account. They were told that this was the most legit product, that this is the equivalent of buying Bitcoin, that this is regulated, like legit. And a lot of people put significantly more money than they should have in this product, and using money that like they really shouldn't have been investing into a speculative instrument like this. And so the damage to the victims is like, I think, of a different level. And I've heard, like, as I've gotten into this, and I've heard from so many people now who are kind of victims of this situation, the sob stories that we're hearing are like devastating. Like, I used to like go through on some like public Twitter spaces and like read out people's comments as they came in. Like literally I would break down like as I'm reading them, because it's just like, hey, I bought this thing when it was at a 30% premium. It's now at a 50% discount. I've lost 80% of my retirement. I'm 60 years old. I have been an aerospace engineer for 35 years. I retired 2 years ago, and now I'm selling my home and trying to find a place to start over again and get a new job. Like, I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet. Like, just stuff that's like, fuck. In terms of like the shadiness of what went down here, I've I've known Barry for a long time. I've always respected him. I always thought he was a shrewd Wall Street guy. I always thought that, like he's a savvy businessman and a shark, but like not a criminal. Like what I've learned over the past 6 months, I'm now strongly in the camp that he's a criminal, and that what he was doing was akin to what SBF was doing, but with better polish and better lawyers and better papering, but with the same results, the same outcomes, a bigger blast radius, and like it took everything blowing up for us to realize what he'd actually been up to. I also think that the fee income generated from this trust is really the source of a lot of the things that went wrong in our industry last year. Genesis was the piggy bank for Celsius and FTX and Three Arrows and all these other firms. If they had not been there to offer uncollateralized, under-collateralized loans, if they had not been getting all these groups to buy GBTC shares, promising them the allure of dumping them on retail investors at a 30% premium, then the size that these different scams could have grown to would have been like a fraction of how big they got. And so, like he's kind of like the spring from which all these Ponzi spring from, and that kind of makes his Ponzi the ultimate Ponzi. But as long as the Bitcoin sits in that trust and pays him out, what does he make per year? 15,000 Bitcoins a year, I think is what. Yeah, that's insane. So as long as he gets his 15,000 Bitcoins a year from that, he's going to keep funding and underwriting these schemes. I mean, that's his demonstrated history. So, yeah, I can go into the details of exactly the stuff he was doing at the trust. But just like to answer your other question of does he survive this? Absolutely, he does not survive this. Like he is, DCG is dead. Grayscale will be busted. The Bitcoin will eventually leave that trust. I hope it's this year. Maybe it's 2 or 3 years from now, but eventually, they will get out of that trust.
When you say they'll leave the trust, how exactly do you see? I mean, I know you can't predict how exactly this would happen, but do you think they'd be market sold and people paid out cash? Do you think people would actually get the Bitcoin itself? How do you kind of see that playing out?
So there's like a wide variety of possible outcomes that could happen. I think like the most likely is that there is a redemption program that's implemented, and you can redeem your shares for the underlying Bitcoin in kind, get paid out Bitcoin. That a big chunk of the money that's sitting in the trust is redeemed out. There's some amount of people that hold this in their 401k or their IRA, and they wouldn't want to redeem because of the taxable implications, and so and they don't want to sell their GBTC at a loss. As the redemption program for those that are not in 401ks is going on, that is going to cause the discount to close so that it actually trades at the value of the underlying assets. And so then people in their IRAs and 401ks can then A, make the choice to sell at that point in time if they want to, or B, if they like the product, which it could be a good product. That product is going to end up getting sold or taken over by another entity, either through a bankruptcy process or an M&A process. And, it's probably going to end up being run by a Fidelity-like company that's going to cut the fees, treat their customers fairly, have a fiduciary duty to them, and is going to operate it so that it can continue to exist. If it's not run like that, then ultimately it's going to have to be shut down. And for anyone who doesn't redeem in kind, they're going to end up getting paid out cash at the end of the day, which I think is a negative outcome. Like I don't think anybody wants to see some big market sell of 100,000 Bitcoins or whatever, which is typically not how this stuff is done. Like it's done in an orderly fashion over time. But I don't like. I think it'd be a bad outcome to force people into cash, And but I will say, like, in the trust documents and what Grayscale has said is that, like, if you try to force us to redeem, we're going to liquidate the whole thing into cash. And
taking our bat and ball and we're going home.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ultimate fuck you to everyone.
Yeah. One of the most exciting companies and projects that Josh and myself, Dan, have come across in the last few years is Crowd Health. If you're already familiar with Crowd Health and have interest in checking it out, then use code BLUE for a significant 3-month trial discount. Healthcare is an incredibly confusing, stressful, and cumbersome space to navigate. Crowd Health provides a remarkable and workable alternative to traditional healthcare setups for a fraction of typical premiums. It's essentially the decentralization of healthcare. You can leverage the power of Bitcoin alongside healthcare crowdfunding to put decisions about your health back in your hands. Each member gets access to great healthcare services as well as their own dedicated care advocate that will negotiate your bills and find members the best doctors and hospitals. Go to joincrowdhealth.com to learn more. And if you're interested in the Bitcoin-specific crowdfund, go to joincrowdhealth.com/Bitcoin. BCB listeners can enjoy healthcare freedom with code BLUE to get your first 3 months for a substantial discount at $99 a month. That is code BLUE. Crowd Health is not health insurance, which we feel is a wonderful thing. If you have healthcare needs or concerns, seriously, give Crowd Health a look. The Blue Collar Bitcoin podcast is brought to you by arguably the most legendary company in Bitcoin, CoinKite. They are the producers of the renowned Cold Card, the world's most trusted and secure Bitcoin signing device, built with a plethora of features fit for Bitcoin beginners all the way up to the most advanced of users. This device is a one-stop shop for your Bitcoin custody needs, and something the two of us have trusted for years. CoinKite also manufactures the Block Lock, a gorgeous e-ink digital display art piece sitting in the background of what seems to be every serious Bitcoiner on the planet. Block Lock can be programmed to scroll through key Bitcoin metrics including price, hash rate, next halving date, and much more. Boy, oh boy, will this thing look good in your living room or office. They're also the makers of many other security and fun products for all users, no matter their technical aptitude. Support our show and get a delicious discount on CoinKite products by following our affiliate link on the screen and in the notes, and using code BCB for 5% off the Cold Card.
So
I can hear people thinking out there right now listening to this, like, okay, I don't own GBTC, but there's a 30 or whatever the discount is at the moment. I don't know what it is, but so let's say it's 30%. I'm going to take a flyer on this, buy some of it, thinking maybe this thing comes back to par after this shit hits the fan and it all plays out. What are your thoughts on somebody who's with that intention? Like, maybe I'll buy some of this because I think maybe in the next couple of years it's going to come back to par value and it'll get restructured.
I'm going to put myself in prison hoping for paradise on the other side sort of thing here. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you need to be careful playing that game. Like, I think first off, you have to understand that Barry's incentives are to never let the Bitcoin leave the trust and to never reduce the fees that he's charging. And he charges
Let's explain that real quick, if you don't mind. The high level of, like, the fees are getting charged at NAV, even though there's a 30% discount, and what would happen to DCG if he lost this revenue. Can you just hit that real quick for someone that's not aware?
Yeah, so we're going to use, it was trading at like 45%. We're going to use 50% because it's just easy math, but it's at, I think, 35% right now. So so the fees are 2% on the Bitcoin trust per year on the total amount of Bitcoins that are in the trust. For Ethereum, I think it's 2.5% of all the ETH that's in the Ethereum trust. But that's of, like, the assets it's holding. When you actually look at the value of the instrument at a 50% discount, that's like effectively charging 4% of the market cap of the instrument. And so if I'm an investor coming in and I'm looking at, like, what am I, like, there's 5 different trust products out there for me to buy that have Bitcoin in it in my IRA, which one should I buy? I can buy the one that charges me half of 1%, or I can buy the one that charges me 4%. Which one am I buying? It's like pretty straightforward. And so the fees, not only are they soaking investors for 15,000 Bitcoin a year, but it's also dramatically reducing any interest in people buying this on the secondary because it's a shit deal. And in theory, like let's say we were never successful on getting the trust busted, and like there's no reason, and like Barry wasn't forced into bankruptcy somehow, there's no reason why Barry couldn't say, hey, no redemptions ever. You're never going to get your Bitcoin out. We're never going to become an ETF. We're like these Bitcoins are effectively our Bitcoins now. Yeah, like we're going to take out 2% a year until there's no Bitcoins left in here. Well, in that scenario, what's a fucking share worth? Like the discount,
not much.
Yeah, the discount could be 75%, which would be like all of a sudden now you're paying 8% fees buying into it.
What a fucking scam.
So
yeah, unethical too. Like, oh my god.
And the reason
it's
why,
unbelievable
like,
when you think about it like that.
Yeah, and the reason why the fees really can't come down is like he owes billions of dollars to other individuals at Genesis and at DCG, and for who knows what personal shit he's gotten himself into, and so like his only cash cow is this trust. So he's got to pay the burn at CoinDesk and the burn, go through all the DCG businesses. They're all burning money basically. So it's like, okay, he's got to cover all those things. Plus he's got to pay all the debts that he owes. Like he needs every penny he can possibly get. So it's kind of like he has this attitude. It's like, okay, I either, fuck you or fuck me. I'm going to fuck you, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
So
the thing that really pisses me off thinking about it is like, say I offload everything because I'm like, I mean, it's not even really, you can't even fuck Barry in the situation. Like if I say, fuck Barry, I'm selling my GBTC, I'm really just fucking the other GBTC holders. I'm not fucking Barry. Barry still has the Bitcoin. He's still getting the same fucking fee. It doesn't matter. That really pisses me off.
The other crazy thing, which you alluded to with Odell, but I'll summarize it, is like the ETF game is totally play pretend. Because if he does get granted this, now redemptions are open. A huge number of people are going to leave, which they can't now. They're in prison paying him out. And the fees will drop massively. So it's a total just facade that he wants an ETF. And it seems likely that if he does this on his own timing, he's just going to delay it as much as possible while pretending like that's his end game while collecting these exorbitant fees.
I can't say where I've heard it, but from people in the know, like they have a strategy that they're going to execute if they actually get SEC approval for this ETF that will ensure that the ETF does not happen for years, even after approval. So because that's kind of worst case scenario, like and the moment I realized like truly that I'd been rugged was like when I did the math, because I bought into this thing like, okay, yeah, like fees will come down, but then Barry owns this ETF and it'll be the first Bitcoin ETF, and that's going to be really just worth so much money. I did the math, and it's like he has 3% of the world's Bitcoin right now. Like, say he didn't have any of this criminal shit going on. People trusted and liked the guy, and he had done a good job managing it. Okay, what will the fees have to be competitive against another Bitcoin ETF? Okay, it needs to be like 75 basis points, like max. Okay, so that means that we're basically talking about dropping the fees, by 2/3. Okay, well, that would mean that AUM, to keep the income at the same level, AUM would actually need to 3x. So to be at the same, okay, well, he has 3.3% of the world's Bitcoin supply. It's not possible to get to 10% of the world's Bitcoin supply. There's not even 1 million Bitcoins. I think there's like 1.5 million Bitcoins on exchanges across all exchanges globally. So it's like, it's impossible. So I was like, once I kind of realized that, it's like, fuck, there is no maximizing fee path other than keep the Bitcoin here in prison and keep extracting it at the fastest rate you can while you pretend to do other things. And, they're so disingenuous. It's so scummy, but like they could offer redemptions tomorrow. Like they claim the SEC has to give them approval. It's all a lie. It's all fictitious. I can show you screenshots from their own filings where they say, Um, like they haven't even tried to get a redemption program done, and they make no promises that they'll ever try to. But they could get it done in 5 days' time. They just have to file a notice with the SEC. They don't even need approval. They just have to give notice, and they could solve this problem themselves. But they just don't want to. They want your money, and like looking at I mean, there's so much detail that can be gone into here, but the I was looking at a chart of AUM per year of how much money was in this trust. And it's okay, the AUM, Bitcoin in the trust is growing at this linear rate. So let's say there's I'm making these numbers up, but let's say 2017 there's 150,000 Bitcoin, and 2018 there's 170,000 Bitcoin, in 2019 there's 190,000 Bitcoin. Linear growth, great, you got a product, you got customers. Okay, well then in 2020 they go from 300,000 Bitcoins that are in the trust at the beginning of the year to 650,000 Bitcoins that are in the trust by the end of the year. Okay, where did all that fucking Bitcoin come from? What was the cause of that? Well, what we found out was that starting in late 2019, they rolled out this financing option at Genesis where they allowed the Three Arrows and the Alamedas and all the fucking Ponzi's of the world to borrow money from them, borrow Bitcoin from them. And it wasn't even their Bitcoin, it was their depositors' Bitcoin. So, borrow their customers' Bitcoin, deposit it into their trust, which they knew the Bitcoin could never come out of, give them shares in the trust that are supposed to be restricted for 6 months, but allow them under some special circumstance, which I'm not quite sure how is even legal in the first place, to then take those shares and use them as collateral to borrow more Bitcoin from Genesis so they could put into the trust. And so basically he just created a cardboard cutout of Ponzi schemes that raided his bank, the Bank of Barry, Genesis, stole his customers' Bitcoin deposits, locked them in another company that he owns, that he's extracting the fees from, and then blew them all up together. And then when the collateral damage comes and the police come, they're like, yeah, that's horrible that happened. But, once the Bitcoin go into the trust, we can't let them out. Can't come out. It's what if SBF was like, hey, once I took the money out of FTX and put it in Alameda, I want to help you, but I can't, my hands are tied. It's fuck no, that doesn't work. You fucking robbed your customers. You don't get to rob a whole nother subset of customers again. It's so and so the discount that exists today is a byproduct of the overissuance of shares through this rehypothecation of shares that was happening at Genesis. And I feel for the Genesis creditors because it's really their Bitcoin that's sitting in the trust now.
Wow. That's so fucked on so many levels. It's almost unbelievable that somebody could do that. But I guess you can't put anything past people in some of these shitcoin scam space, and he's squarely in that camp.
I see where it's hard to know what to do right now. I mean, the three of us are in the same predicament. We own shares in some IRAs, hedge positions, but it's still in there. And it's has the pain been felt and it would be the worst time to sell, or is there more pain to come? And it feels like a coin flip. You seem optimistic that it's going to be redeemed in somewhat short order. Is that accurate?
I think it's going to be redeemed eventually. I fundamentally think that Grayscale's perspective that they can steal Bitcoin from a subsidiary business of theirs. They can, in a corrupt fashion, lock that Bitcoin away and break securities laws doing so. That they can charge unbelievably non-commercial terms to extract that money into their personal bank accounts. That they have no fiduciary duty to their shareholders. That their shareholders can basically be robbed. And it's totally legal because read subsection 2B of some trust documents that none of the retail investors even saw in the first place. I don't think that is fundamentally a sound argument. And I don't think that's how the law works. I don't think that that's how business works. And if they think that they can run one of the biggest financial crimes of the modern age with no consequences, I think that they're delusional. And there are so many well-resourced organizations working around the clock to bust this trust. The army of people that they have set off is staggering. And one of the cool things about this is like I get to interact with all these different people, and I'm so impressed with like the legitness of the Bitcoin OGs that are at the table, the institutions that are at the table, the government agencies that are at the table, the other ETFs that are at the table. Like this is a force of God, a collective movement that's happening to do the right thing here. And Barry is under siege so many places. I think it's very likely that DCG will be pushed into bankruptcy in the next 3 months. I think the odds are over 50% that they'll go into bankruptcy in the next 3 months, which just by its very self will change the ownership of DCG and therefore change who controls Grayscale, which then opens up all sorts of possibilities. There are lawsuits happening right now run by some of the best law firms in the country, many lawsuits, and like some filed, many not filed yet, where they're getting attacked by every fucking legal like theory you could possibly imagine, crafted by $4,000 an hour attorneys, like one after another after another. One of these is going to work, and then there's like lobbyists in DC hitting Congress people, regulators, senators, House committees. Like Gary Gensler is going to be pushed on this topic here pretty soon as well. So
I think
it's going to get busted.
I'm just kind of thinking like worst case scenario here. Let's who holds this Bitcoin? Coinbase, right? Coinbase has got the keys.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like Barry. I mean, just as an example of like what a piece of shit this guy is, right? What if he just loses the keys, like literally burns these things? Like that's not an outside possibility. That is the kind of like tear the fucking world down possibility that everybody loses. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there.
When you're a criminal, you do criminal like shit. So I can't say that's beyond.
It's not off the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is like one. I mean, there's so many attack angles on this thing. One of the angles is like if Coinbase told Genesis told Grayscale that they refused to be their custodian anymore and basically like cease servicing them tomorrow, that would trigger some clauses in the trust document that could result in the termination of the trust as well. Like there are so many levers to pull. There will eventually be a lever that is effective on the shortest timeline that will come through, in my opinion. And I think I talked to one person that's very in the know on the Genesis creditor side, one of the largest creditors. And they said, I used to think Barry was shrewd, and now I just think he's dumb, and he's paralyzed with the reality of the moment that he's in, and he is basically catatonic and unable to make decisions to move this forward. So it's like he's not even the right, like I'm a pirate on the pirate ship and like haha I'm swashbuckling to steal your Bitcoin. Like he's not even in that mindset. He's just like like, oh wow, I've been fucking caught. I can't believe it. Woe is me. And like, don't answer the door as people are fucking banging it down. Like, give us back our fucking Bitcoin. That's kind of the sense of the situation.
I know you got to go here in a minute, but one question I had was if Bitcoin does rip right now, just hypothetically, this thing goes north of $100,000 this year. Just what does he get? Does he buy himself more time? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I think if Bitcoin rips, it definitely buys him optionality. right now, he has really no path out of this. He has huge amounts of litigation with huge potential penalties against him, and he has lots of debt outstanding. And so no one's coming to his rescue to buy Grayscale or put money into DCG because, like, guys, you there? Did I break up?
Yeah, we got you now.
Okay, cool. So, like, no one's coming to invest in a DCG because, like, okay, there's just the Alameda lawsuit against Grayscale seeking like $1.5 billion in damages. Who wants to go put $1 billion in a DCG to bail out of one debt, and then boom, another 1.5 billion comes through. So, but as the price of Bitcoin, like, if it goes to 100,000, that's probably like where it needs to go. The fees that he's fucking robbing from people will grow from, hey, I'm robbing right now 350 million a year from people, and now it's going to be I'm robbing $1 billion a year from people. Well, okay, you know how many other corrupt scumbags there are in the world that are like, oh, $1 billion, like, shit, yeah, we'll deal with the $1.5 billion payout to this lawsuit and $1 billion over here if we can make our money back in 18 months. So, but it's a big number. So, like, he needs Bitcoin to, like, rip to six figures. It's like going at 45 or going to like 60. It's not enough.
Right. Man, what a fascinating and obnoxious reality to unpack. But I think it's worth unpacking. I think a lot of people own this, man. Like, we admit it. We obviously, it pales in comparison to what we have cold stored, but we took hedges in our Roth IRAs and stuff. It was the only game in town. And I know American HODL's got it. Like, there's a lot of hardcore people that have this in their tax-advantaged accounts or brokerage accounts or whatever. And we need to smoke this rat out of the hole. Go to redeemgbtc.com, folks. We've put our shares in on there, and I'm thinking the more voices, the better.
Well, and we have some news coming on that front shortly. I was hoping I was going to be able to announce it maybe today on y'all's podcast. Not quite yet, but we have some actions coming that are going to be beneficial to the entire Redeem GBTC coalition. Hopefully get us some recovery on some of our losses. And, please sign up. If you haven't already signed up, it takes 10 seconds to sign up. RedeemGBTC.com. But yeah, I mean, this is the type of stuff that, like, we have to do as an industry if we're going to self-police and self-govern. Like, we got to get rid of these bad actors. We got to get rid of the scammers. No tolerance for it. And dude, I get so much shit on Twitter for being a GBTC shareholder, but like, I see who signs up for the redeemgbtc.com. Dude, it is every one of your favorite Bitcoin maxis is a shareholder of this thing. So people like to dish it, but a lot of losses.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of losses felt here too. David,
thank you, man.
Absolute privilege. Absolute privilege. Enjoyed this one. End this rip however you want. Hand off to the conference, whatever.
Yeah, well, first off, guys, it's been fun. Thank you for having me on, and hopefully we can do this again. And two, people, come to Miami, come to the Bitcoin conference, bring your camera, take pictures of every little thing you don't like, complain about it. That's half the fun, but you do not want to miss this conference. It is a bear market conference. It's a conference for building. It's a conference for cleaning up the bullshit of the past 12 months. And, we as an industry, we got a lot of changes we need to make if we're going to do this next cycle right. So come down, meet your fellow Bitcoiners, meet your next business partner, meet your next co-founder, your next investor,
your next lover,
your next lover.
Wait, just quick on that point. Is this like 80% or 90% men that go to this conference? Do you know the demographic breakdown? So you might find a lover there.
But
out there. He went bye-bye.
His question was, I think, is it 80 or 90% men? No, it depends on what part of the season we're in. So in a bear market, it's like 99% men. In the bull market, it's like 75% men. But
this is in Miami, folks. Like, we're not judging.
Come meet your lover, dude.
Come meet your lover.
No matter what appendages he or she may have, they will be there.
or what they call themselves.
I
how
will
they identify.
say it's a family-friendly event. The OG Bitcoiners out there, they're doing the Lord's works, bringing life into this world. There's a lot of young families that come to it. They bring their wives. It's a good time. But come on down to Miami. And if you can't afford a ticket, if the tickets are too expensive, hit us up. We will get you a discounted ticket. With price is not a reason not to come. We will make it work for you. So hope to see you in Miami. And guys, thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for wasting an hour and a half with a couple degenerate firemen, Dave. Have a good day.
Anytime. Ciao.